There is a strong feeling that religion all throughout the UK is declining very rapidly.
Going to church was weddings, christenings and funerals. We can go to church at 9 o'clock in the morning. By 10:30, we're in the pub.
The rise of the non-religious is arguably the story of British religious history over the past half-century or so. This statement comes from a report entitled The No Religion Population of Britain, and it summarizes a very apparent trend all over the United Kingdom. Yet despite the nation's increasingly secular direction, there are some Brits who have turned to religiosity. This is Robert Bown. He grew up in a small village in Derbyshire, which is situated in the middle of England.
We struggled in the early times, but like everybody else did, we was all in the same boat. There wasn't the jobs that there are nowadays, like in technology and things like that. What all the guys go for these days, it was hard manual work that you could get, agriculture or quarrying. From the age of leaving school and leaving home, 7 days a week, in the morning, I was milking a herd of cows in the shed. My mum and dad were different. My mum was Anglican and my father was Catholic. My mother says, you're going to the Anglican church purely because she didn't want my dad to have us come up in his faith. She wants to win the battle, and she did. She forced us to go to church. And my mother insisted that we went to an Anglican church, which was 4 miles away. I think that's how the Church of England came about. You didn't really want to go. I couldn't wait to get out of it, to be honest.
Another person who grew up in the Church of England was James Brasington.
I went to a Church of England primary school from the age of 4 until 11. We have religious schools in the UK, but the people usually in it aren't that religious, or the families aren't that religious. It's just that in that local area, that is the school to send your children. So that doctrine that they teach there is part of the school curriculum. The minister of the church would give his sermon. He would read from an A4 piece of paper that he typed on his computer. The Bible was never actually read from. So even as a child, I could see it's not following the strict rules of the Bible. As a Church of England member, you don't have to attend the school, you don't have to attend the worship service. You can freely come and go as you like. I wouldn't attend the Church of England because my belief wasn't there in them. My trust wasn't there that was the right church for me.
Most British people, in my opinion, they'll put work first. In the villages, it's work, and then maybe at the weekends going out with the friends. Them that are inclined would go to church, but they got less and less and less. As the older generation dwindled, the newer generation didn't fill the places or didn't increase it. And when you look round, all the villages that had churches, they're not getting services now. The old saying, which is a lot in England, do you go to church, by the way? Oh yeah, weddings, funerals and christenings. And that seemed to be the norm.
People around the country and around the world, it's a similar statistic. Their faith is declining and declining. There's lots of chapels around the UK, beautiful houses of worship that are being left abandoned.
Rather than serving their intended purpose for worship, Oftentimes, church buildings all over the UK end up being sold off and converted into pubs, shops, and even houses. Other chapels which have escaped such change are left dilapidated and empty. One church building which eventually closed its doors to worshippers was the Meanwood Methodist Chapel located in Leeds.
It closed because, we lacked the money to maintain it properly, and our congregation was getting older and nobody was there to do the work that needed to be done. And so when something major needed repairing, they thought that it was better to call it a day and just close down.
Yet there is still hope that buildings such as these would be utilized once more as worship buildings. In 2015, the Meanwood Chapel was purchased by the Iglesia and Cristo Church of Christ, with renovations beginning shortly after. And in June 2019, this newly beautified worship building was, for the first time in decades, filled with worshippers.
Biblically, our Lord God commands us to have a house of worship, to worship Him. I couldn't do that on my own. I looked at Catholicism, I looked at a Protestant church, I looked at different religions around the world. For me, I really wanted to find that church that their teachings were straight from the Bible.
Merong mga tao, ang sabi ni Apostol Pablo, sila ay mahal ng ating Panginoong Diyos. Sila yung mga hinirang ng ating Panginoon. Sila yung nasakop ng dugo ng ating Panginoong Kristo. Ayon sa Biblia, alin po ang nasakop na tubos ng dugo ni Cristo? Iglesia ni Cristo. Kaya tayo, umalip tayo sa Iglesia ni Cristo. Sapagkat alam natin, yun ang katotohanan na kinakailangan nating sampalatayanan para tayo magkaroon ng tunay na kaugnayan sa Diyos at maligtas sa araw po ng paghukom. Kaya nga ang sabi namin sa inyo kanina, dapat ang ating pagka-Iglesia ni Cristo, pakamahalin natin, pakaingatan natin, pahalagahan natin. Magtalaga tayo sa ating pagka-Iglesia ni Cristo sapagkat tayo ang mahal ng Diyos. Tayo po ang Kanyang ililigtas. Isipin ninyo yun, mga kapatid. Nasa atin ang pagmamahal ng ating Panginoong Diyos. Kaya hindi natin dapat bitawan ang ating pagka-Iglesia ni Cristo. Dapat nating ingatan ang ating pagka-Iglesia ni Cristo.
I really like to travel. I love to see different parts of the world, and I wanted to visit the Philippines as my next country. So I spoke to many people online, learning about the Philippines, and one of them, they was actually from Abu Dhabi. They reached out and they told me about the Church of Christ. In our chats, they asked if I was religious, and I said yes. And they told me, well, if you want a church that is biblical, follows the commandments from the Bible, and all the answers come from the Bible, that's the Church of Christ. You should check it out. They actually told me there was a locale here in Manchester, and they told me about the website. I read the doctrines that the church was based on, and the one that really got me was that the church was biblical, that everything comes from the Bible.
A few decades earlier, Robert Bound reached a pivotal moment in his life.
I'll tell you what I did feel a need for. I felt a need to change my life. I didn't really know what I wanted. I just wanted out, if you want to put it that way. Out of the situation I'd found myself in, and it was a case of, right, I'm on my own, boredom, loneliness, Even so, you're still not thinking of religion, which might have helped a bit if you did. In a way, it's the British way of being stiff upper-lipped. You're reluctant to ask for help. You think, I'm going to grow old and I'm going to die on my own. And it's wakes you up a little bit. Yeah, it's depressing. it really is. Yeah, but it's all I'd ever known was work and work and work and work. I'd not known anything else.
To escape the situation he was in, Robert travelled abroad, and he found himself going to the Philippines. And while he was there, he had made some new friends.
Sister Gloria Lynn, who was a choir member and leader in the Iglesia and Cristo church. And she asked me outright, she said, do you believe in God? I said, well, I must do in a way, because I don't disbelieve. There's got to be something else besides this life. And eventually, it came for time for me to leave and come home. And what I didn't know with Gloria, she was a very good friend of a minister. So she wrote a letter and handed it to me and made me promise that when I arrived back in London, can you find this church and hand this letter to this minister? And that was, I think it was 32 Latchmere Road in Battersea in London. And I purposely went out of my way to find this place because I promised I would do, and hand the letter in.
Robert Bound had been directed to the first congregation of the Iglesia and Cristo Church of Christ in the United Kingdom, which was then known as the Local Congregation of London. It was there that he began learning about the doctrines of the Iglesia and Cristo.
Not every church says, we don't answer the questions. The Bible answers the questions. And that really intrigued me because that really stood out. And when I come to have my first Bible study, and I saw the minister, when there was a question answered, he wouldn't say his opinion. He would read from the Bible. Not only would he read from the Bible, he would tell me the passage. He encouraged me to look it up, that he's not saying any different. He said, write the passage down, you can review it later. I didn't need to. He was reading from the Bible. He wasn't giving his opinion. The answer came from the Bible. And that was different to any other religion that I'd known about.
That was the moment, yeah, that changed my mind. And from then on, I just kept going and going and going until I actually got baptized. People are always looking for something. It took me a long time, but I think I found what I was looking for.
Yung pagsamba, sagutin na ng mga hinirang ng Diyos. Kaya nga ang sabi sa atin ng Biblia, ako ay sasamba sa iyong banal na templo sapagkat tayo ang minahal unino ng Diyos. Sa makatwid, yung mahal ng ating Panginoong Diyos, obligasyon nila, sagutin nila, pananagutan nila, kautangan nila sa Panginoong Diyos na siya ay sambahin. Kaya wag nating pababayaan ang ating pagsamba. Pagka ang mga lingkod ng Diyos, ginagawa yung pagsamba nila sa ating Panginoon. Ang sabi ng Biblia, yung iyong kaawaan, yung iyong mapagkandiling pagmamahal, mamamalagian niya magpakailanman. Ang sabi sa atin ng Biblia, bagaman ang Diyos gumagawang may kabagsikan, gumagawa rin siya anyang mayroong kahabagan. Hindi gusto ng Diyos na tayo mahirapan. Ayaw ng Diyos yun. Kaya ang totoo, dumarating man sa atin ang pagsubok, yung bang pagsubok na yun hindi natin makakaya o makakaya natin? Makakaya natin. Talagang ang Diyos ang masusunod kung kailan ibibigay yung kanyang pagpapala o yung mga bagay na ating kailangan. Pero anong dapat sa atin? Huwag tayong mainip. Huwag tayong mawala ng pag-asa. Manalig tayo sa Kanya, manghawak tayo sa Kanya, sapagkat pagka napatunayan natin yung ating pagtitiwala sa Kanya at pananalig sa Kanya, igagawad niya sa atin ang kanyang kagandahang loob.
I currently work as a night duty manager and finance manager of a hotel in Manchester in the United Kingdom. Traditionally, night manager of a hotel is third in charge of a hotel, whereas my position before, which was executive assistant general manager, is usually a second in position after the general manager. Because I had such an important position in the hotel, and that position is vital to the running of that business, they would not allow me to attend the Tuesday midweek worship service that we have here. So for the first few weeks, I was attending only the weekend worship service. I'd had my 2 Bible studies, and after that short period of time, I was already sure to take that demotion, to change my position and become a night manager, so that when an activity comes up, I could attend them. People couldn't really understand at first why I made that decision. I think no matter who you are in this world, you're going to face problems. Without God, you're on your own. You can't overcome these problems without Him. When you go to worship service in the Church of Christ, the strength and the calmness that gives me, it really makes me know that no matter what problem I have in my life, I've got nothing to fear, because I know that I can call on our Almighty God and that He will listen. There's not going to be a hindrance. As long as I'm healthy enough to do so, as long as I'm capable to do so, I'll never wantingly miss a worship service.
Kaya nakita nyo ang kampanya natin, puspusang pagbabagong buhay. Bakit natin ikinakampanya yon? Sapagkat naisip lang natin gawin yon? Hindi po. Yan ang hinahanap ng Diyos sa atin. Bilang mga lingkod niyang, minahal niya, hinirang niya. Ang sabi sa atin ng Biblia, kayong mangingibig-an niya ng Diyos, kasuklaman ninyo ang kasamaan, yung masama. Kaya kami nananawagan doon sa mga kabataan. Huwag tayong pumayag na tayo ay mahikayat ng ating mga kaibigan sa paggawa ng kasalanan. Tandaan ninyo, Iglesia tayo ni Cristo. Minahal tayo ng Diyos. Hindi tayo pababayaan ng Diyos. Yung mga mabubuting hangarin natin sa ating buhay, ibibigay ng Diyos. Kailan? Pagka tayo namuhay ng ayon sa Kanyang hinahanap sa atin. Hindi magiging malayo ang Diyos sa atin kahit na gaano pa kabigat ang ating nasasagupa sa ating buhay kung tayo ay nagbabagong buhay. Mga kapatid, panahon na para natin pakinabangan ang ating kahalalan, ang ating pagkaiglesia ni Cristo. Kasi ang pagkaiglesia ni Cristo natin, hindi lang para tamuhin ang kaligtasan sa araw ng paghuhukom. Dito pa lang sa buhay na ito, kailangan mo ang tulong ng Diyos. Hindi siya magiging malayo sa iyo. Kailan? Pagka yung mga kalooban niya na isasakatuparan natin.
You've got to be grateful for what the church has done, because it's steered you out of the trouble they used to get into and sort of given you the light at the end of the tunnel to aim for. So it's the church that's made me alter my attitude and the way I was. The Church of Christ is very important because I wish to reach the goal that I've been promised through the doctrinations, through the services and lessons that we receive each and every week. If we continue and endure, and we will eventually make it to the heavenly kingdom that we've been promised.
The House of Worship in Leeds is an opportunity for other people to join the church, another location that they can come, learn His laws and commandments, and that is such a great feeling.
It's really, really good. It's really good. It's uplifting. You know, there's life coming back into this old building, and it really does look splendid.
usually when churches in this country close, it's very, very rare they reopen, or they reopen as something else. They turn into flats, turn into night spots and things like that. So I'm so proud to be here, proud to be a member, and I'm grateful that our executive minister has taken the time to come and meet the brethren in this country and come and dedicate this chapel. All those years ago, there was one chapel in the entire country down in London, in Latchmere Road in Battersea. And it's amazing, in the last 30 years, how many churches of our church has sprung up across this country. It takes your breath away to see how it's grown and grown and grown, especially when you're watching the churches we're used to going into decline all the time. And this one's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So that only proves that God is behind us, God is with us, and God is helping us.
Ano man ang ating mabigat na suliranin, kagaya ng sinabi sa atin ng Biblia, huwag tayong uurong, huwag anya tayong matatakot, huwag tayong masisiraan ng loob, huwag tayong malulungkot, mangamba, o kaya ay matakot sa pagkabahala. Ano dahilan? Sapagkat ang Panginoon nangako sa atin, hahayo siya sa ating harapan. Hindi niya tayo pababayaan, sasamahan niya tayo sa lahat ng sandali. Hindi niya tayo bibiguin, hindi niya tayo bibitawan, hindi niya tayo pababayaan. Sana yan ang ating maranasan sa ating buhay.